Good evening and welcome to Between the Lanes, episode number 94. I'm Ron,
And I'm Shane.
and we're here to talk about slot cars. And this is kind of a special episode because there was a road trip involved and historic visit, or a visit to a historic place, I'll put it that way. So welcome to Between the Lanes, episode number 94. Find us on YouTube. The channel is Slot Racer. We have 94 episodes up now, some how-to videos, and some special episodes, along with a couple extra new videos after this show airs tonight. Find us on Facebook. Between the Lanes is the page. And we've got some race results from last weekend and even the weekend before. So the winning report. Dallas Slot Cars hosted the Texas Retro Series last weekend. And in the Can-Am class, Ken Stevens was the winner. Richard Hoffer second, George Marquez in third. And in F1, Ken Stevens pulled off the deuce, the double, the sweep, by winning in F1 with Richard Hoffer second again, sweep of second place, and Ed Bazan was in third. The Sunset 240 Enduro race took place at Mid-America Naperville last weekend on the LTD track there. I'll think for a minute. Ricky D and Mike Mazer there in the center. Superman and Pro Slot Man. They were the winning team. And then to the left of your screen, Bernie Schatz and Chuck Gamble was the second place team. And Gary Gasport and Jim Kreider on the right of your screen was the third place team. Southern California Retro Racing Association was in action at Buena Park on the King track. F1 was won by Dale Yamashita, Bill Vanderzeel second, and Mil Conroy third. Can-Am was won by Duran Trujillo, with Sam Rackham second, and Bill V third. Good weekend for Bill. The Apex 600 hard body races took place at Apex Raceway down in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And
It's a nice track.
it is a nice track. It is a nice track. I'd like to run on that track someday.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when you said Tennessee. I was like, that's not really that far.
Yeah. So anyway, they ran three classes of hard bodies. And in the truck class, Larry was the winner, J.C. Martin in second, and Mark T. was in third. And then in the NASCAR class, J.C. Martin was the winner, five-time in second place. That's what the lap counter said, five-time. I don't know the guy's name. And then Jerry was third in that race. In the fairgrounds class, five-time was your winner. Larry was second, and Mark T. was third. The Gator Retro Racing region raced at P1 2 weeks ago. In Can-Am, Danny Zona was the winner, Terry Tawney second. Aaron Rothstein was third. In the coupe class, Terry Tawney was the winner. DZ was second, and Doc Doherty was in third. And then F1, DZ was the winner, Terry Tawney second, and Jay Gard was third. And that's the winner chicken dinner reports.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
Okay, so this weekend, we'd previously said that Mad Fast had a race scheduled for this weekend, but it has been rescheduled until June 15th, so we want to get that out there. So this weekend we got the AWRA, I think it's round 2 of the Mid-Atlantic Championships at Uncle Charlie's Raceway in North Wilkesboro.
I believe so, yeah.
North
It's just
Carolina?
up the road from Bobby's, yeah.
Okay,
It's up the road from Bobby's in like 30 or 40 minutes from Russell.
okay. If you say so. I'm not that
I've
familiar.
never been, so I have no idea.
And then the weekend of the 7th, 8th, and 9th, you've got the Retropalooza at Port Jeff Raceway. You've got the Dave Gearing Memorial Race at Thaser Raceway, South Bend, Indiana. And the 15th of June, we got Florida Slot Car Series at Fast Eddie's and the Mad Fast Series, which has been rescheduled to that weekend. And where's the Mad Fast race at?
It's at Turn and Burn.
Turn and Burn in Moxville, North Carolina. And then the weekend of the 22nd is Gator Retro Racing And the NorCal Enduro race. And the last weekend, the 29th, we've got retro racing at Dow Slot Cars again. So that is what's coming up the next few weeks. And as I said earlier at the start of the show, there was a road trip. And the road trip also included like kind of going back in the Wayback Time Machine. So this is a road trip way back time machine portion of our show. And Eric Shirey and myself took a trip to Rama Raceway in Brooklyn, New York. How this kind of started out was a couple years ago when Dave Gearing and myself, Dave was just as big as American Raceway freak, I guess, as I am, and now Eric's in there because he's got the orange track and stuff. So a couple years ago when Dave and I and Rick Stegan, we went up to Modelville for one of the retro races there. I'd said to Dave, I said it'd be nice sometime, maybe next year when we go back, maybe make a stop by Buzzarama on the way back and check out the tracks and talk to Buzzy and get some information. So me and Dave talked about it last October, and then Dave passed in January. And so that kind of bucket list trip was, like kind of put on hold. And then, I don't know, like a couple months ago, Eric said something out. He wanted to go to Buzzy's. And I said, oh, okay. When do you want to go? He's like, you want to go? I said, yeah, I want to go. Because I never met Buzzy. I talked to him a few times. Like when I was at Parma, I talked to him on the phone a few times. And, probably the last time I talked to Buzzy on the phone was like 15 years ago or something. And, he gave me a little American Raceway information from his point of view and from his experience. And so kind of, Buzzy has all these videos on YouTube. If you go on YouTube and you search Buzzarama or Buzzarama Raceway, you're going to find all these videos from all these, I don't know what to call them. They're kind of like local interest television shows or specials. And, it's kind of like, well, we're going back in time, or here's a cool place to visit when you're in Brooklyn, blah, blah, blah. And, there's just tons of, the videos go anywhere from 3 minutes up to almost a half hour on some of this stuff. So, those are all interesting and cool videos. You get to see a lot about the raceway and stuff, but you don't really learn a bunch about the history of the raceway and, like some other things that are there that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. So, this is kind of the front of the store there, and I had to take a picture of the sign that Buzzy actually, he's hand wrote this and stuck it on the window. For more fun, get a slot car. Stuck on the window there. So in the reflection of the window there, you can see across the street from the raceway, there's like big buildings that have apartments upstairs, and then on the street level, there's stores and stuff. And you're I don't know if you're old enough. When I was a kid of the 60s, a young kid of the 60s, before lots of shopping malls, everybody in cities did shopping in downtowns. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
There were always a beehive of activity, and that's the way it is there at Buzzy's, because he's surrounded by a couple of grocery stores and other businesses. And, there's just people walking by all day long, either going.
It's kind of like, Randy's upstairs, if you walk out on the street and just sit down, there's always.
Right. Yeah. Take that times 10 and you've got what's happening in Brooklyn at Buzzarama. So, walk in the door and there's a payphone hanging on the wall.
Seeing that and kind of laugh. I was like, wow, you don't see those anymore.
No, so I got to take a picture of the payphone.
We seen one not too long ago. Me and my brother took his two oldest boys And I was like, we got to do it. And he's like, what? And I was like, let's go show them this. We showed the two oldest boys, and they're like,
How's it work?
yeah, they're looking at their dad, and they're like, Uncle Shane, what's that? I was like, it's a payphone. They're like, it's a what? I was like, yeah. I was like, that was around before these came out. And he's like, cell
Yeah.
phone? Like, yeah. And that's what they said. Is like, how does it? Do you put your card in it? Because everything now it's got the credit card, so you
Right.
just swipe. I was like, no. I was like, you had to have change.
Yeah, this is definitely an old school payphone where, I mean,
Yeah,
you have the slot for a calling card or a credit card or anything. So
yeah. Yeah, I seen that there. Reminded me of that story there, and I was just like, for that trip, because I think we were just running up to the store, and I was
I
just
think
like, hey,
I think I even asked Buddy, does this thing work? He says, oh
did it or not? It did?
yeah, it works.
Huh,
I
all
didn't
right.
pick it up and listen, but
Right.
it was just,
How
and
much was it?
and when you walk into Buzzy's, I mean, to me and for me, it's just a huge step back in time.
Right.
This is like your typical old school raceway.
Right.
No frills, no fancy.
Kind of like an old machine shop.
Yeah, it's got that old slot car raceway smell, and feel and
Smell of wintergreen.
ambiance. Now it did smell wintergreen, but it's I don't know how to describe but anybody that old school racer, they would walk in and go, yep, this is a slot car track. I mean, it just.
Our track, the track that I ever first got started on, it's funny you say that because it just made me think of it, Shugu, because they also had an indoor RC car track.
Yep. And Shugu, we talked about it before on the show, Shugu makes a great body reinforcement.
Yeah. And it's just, every time I smell that, it's kind of like a flashback whenever I was a kid, because it's just Shugu. It's just like, I know that,
Yeah, that's not something good to sniff a lot of.
No, but it's just, it's just one of them weird things.
Unique smell.
Yeah. Or when we were at Flexipalooza, we smelled wintergreen. I was like,
right.
Race go-karts or something,
Right. So Buzzy's has 4 tracks, 4 American track. They have the American Orange, or as Buzzy doesn't call them by color. That's the Monarch. Okay, so the Monarch, the Orange, and the American tracks got their names or nicknames by the color sidewalls on the deluxe versions. The Econo versions were just paneling sides, so they would be referred to as the Monarch. So this is the Monarch Orange, and then there's the Windsor Yellow. And this is the track that I first slot car track I ever raced on was a yellow, but we had an Econo version with the paneling sides, and we called it the Windsor. And I, it was many, many years before I ever seen a deluxe yellow. And
What was the difference? Just the paneling on the sides?
yeah. It had a thinner wall, and it was paneling. And
Other than that, everything was the same?
Yeah. The track itself was the same, as far as the layout surface.
Right.
Then he has the American Royal, or the black. This is the banked version, 95 foot. American also made a flatter version, which was 90 foot in lap length, and it was called the Regal. So, again, we've talked about this before too. The controversy is which direction does this track run? Like the King, this is like a mini King track, basically.
Right.
And I've raced on them in both directions, down the donut or up the donut. Buzzy runs his down the donut, similar to what Modelville does in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and there a track similar to that you've raced on with retro cars?
Yeah, and then we go to fast tracks in Fremont, Ohio, and we run this track the direction of a King. So, to give you a little, when American designed the track, and if you ever looked at the drawing of the track, and then if you looked at the photo, the color photo that they sent out to prospective raceways to purchase, the arrows pointed the direction of running down the donut.
Okay. So opposite of a King.
Right. So you would, yes, the opposite of a King. Then on the back of that color thing, it said the cars go down a straightaway into an exciting set of banked turns. Well, there's no banked turns over here at what we would call the top turn or the donut.
Yeah, nothing
And
exciting about that.
so the picture on one side shows arrows on the track going one way, and then the back describes going the opposite way. So over the years, people have run them in a lot of different directions. So, and this is a typical. There's the American lap counter system, which is like an old pinball machine with the pinwheels, and of course you see the steering wheels and seats in the background, which starting in 1966, you could get American tracks with the steering wheels and the foot pedals, and all the American tracks had this option, and you had a gas pedal that acted as your accelerator or your controller, and then the steering wheels. And I don't really know how this system worked, but if you're making a right hand turn, you have to turn the steering wheel to the right. If you turn it to the left, then the car would stop running, like it cuts the power to the car. And Buzzy said that after about a year, he disconnected these from the track, so you always have to use a controller. And he said it was just a lot less headaches. And if you're sitting there in a seat and your car comes towards you from under the bridge, it's a left-hand turn, but it looks like it's a right-hand turn. You know what I'm saying? So most people would turn right and the car would stop, where you need to turn left because it was actually a left-hand turn in the direction the car was going. So, but yeah, there's and another thing you'll notice too, on American tracks, what would be considered the top turn of a track in the direction you're driving, red lane is always the lane at the beginning of the straightaway, and black is always the lane at the end of the straightaway. So this track, when it was shipped, was set up to run opposite of a king.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Black's the closest to you.
Right. Now, when you go to fast tracks, and that panel's never been reversed, it's the way it came from the factory. Where black is on this track, red is. Because that track was designed to run the direction of a king track. So, just another tidbit of information. And of course, Eric, he was like a kid in a candy store, So we got a picture of him in the steering wheel. And Buzzy also has an HO track. I can't give you much information about this track. It's a plastic track. Don't know who built it. Maybe Buzzy built it. Don't know. Didn't ask. HO's not my thing, baby.
So he's got a pinball machine.
Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Or not a pinball. What is that?
Those were video games.
No, what's the thing where you drop the ball in the middle and you got the little guys on a stick? That's not pinball.
Oh, skee ball.
Is it skee ball?
Yeah, that's what we always called it.
Gotcha. Someone will comment on the show.
I'll tell you right now, if you go to a raceway and they got a skee ball machine and Andy Wasserman's there, do not play him. He will whip your ass.
Yeah?
Yeah. He's like the skee ball king, dude. So, then there's the Blue King. And this is like when you walk in the door at Buzzy's, to your left is the Windsor. And then if you would turn your head, if you're looking directly at it, turn your head to the right, then that sits the black. And then back in the corner would be the king. And then over to the right, at the end of the showcase, is where the orange is. And I should have probably tried to take a picture of that, but I didn't. So there's Buzzy's king track. And this was the actual king track that they used for the 1979 USRA Nats when it was held at Buzzy's. And it was all wing cars then, no scale cars. And we'll get into that more in the future. So I really don't know why I took this picture. It's a hookup panel on the king track, of course. And the two buttons to the right of that panel would have been for the automatic race director, which that was a lap counter. And the way American had them set up, people could come in and rent time, and they could actually run their own races through the automatic race director. And I don't remember which button did what, and the one button's even missing. So I think the red button was probably the reset, And then I think the bottom button would have been green. Once you reset and you got cars lined up on the straightaway, you would hit the green button. The countdown clock would begin. There was 4 bells. It went ding, 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 and then the power came on, and the clock started. And you could set the clock, I think, for 1, 2, 3, and maybe 5 minutes, and maybe even 4 was in there. And it was kind of like a computer, like we run our heats now. Okay, so power would be on for the time you set it for, and then if there was track calls, it would stop that timer. But it was called the automatic race director. So, and then kind of typical New York and a graffiti kind of thing. Somebody named Joey, or Joey the Second, carved his name into the hookup panel. And I just like this is kind of a typical New York City thing. Someone's marked their territory or whatever. So,
what lane was it?
You know what? I think it was on blue or next to blue. So I'd asked Buzzy later in the day. I said, "Well, did you ever catch Joey carving his name back?" He goes, "No, but if I would have." So,
Yeah.
but that was the only act of vandalism we seen in the Buzzarama Raceway while we were there. So they do lots of birthday parties at Buzzarama, and so when I'm going to ad lib here. Once you go in and either book and pay your deposit for your birthday party, I don't know if they give whoever's having the parties, a stack of birthday cards to mail out, or if Buzz himself actually, give me your list of people and we'll mail these out. But this artwork was done by a professional cartoonist who does a cartoon strip, which I cannot remember the guy's name. So if any of those characters look familiar to a current cartoon strip you might see in the newspaper, that's the guy who did this. And then inside the card, not a very good picture, please come celebrate Mikey's birthday party on January 5th at Buzzarama. And there's the address, and we will begin promptly so don't be late. Or you will miss all the fun and action of racing slot cars. RSVP. And I said we had 2 more videos to put up. So the other video that'll be on after the show airs will be a 5.5-minute interview that I did with Buzz after we were done for the day. And he will explain a little bit more about the birthday parties and how they start, and like an hour long, and it's kind of got a little regime there to it. So anyway, so there's a party room, and it is behind the orange, and in the party room there's just a ton of video games. And if you notice there's a telephone booth inside the game room, the party room.
Oh, there it is. I was like, where's it? Got it.
And he's got a sign on it that says Clark Kent's dressing room or something. And I was going to get in there to see if there was a phone in there. I mean, it doesn't work, but that's cool. I always kind of wanted to have a telephone booth. I just put it in the shop or the house or the garage or whatever, but Buzzy had a telephone booth in there. So I thought that was kind of cool. So, and this is kind of a long shot of but there's pinball machines, tons of old video games. Buzzy actually collects video games. Told me he had a warehouse full of video games, and they're all like in pristine condition. So I was never a big video game person. I remember Galaxy and I remember Pac-Man.
Yeah, it's like me.
And
I was always outside.
I didn't like sticking my money in them. That's so and then there's lots of what I guess they call them video games, but I always call them like TV screen games, because you have a TV screen in there, and it's kind of like way early. But Space Invaders and Narc, and Dan Myers would probably be getting off on this because he's into that old game thing. And Mick Brown is a guy who's into pinball machines. Buzzy didn't have a ton of pinball machines, but he had a bunch of video games. And so this was the current track rates for track time at Buzzarama, and he sells time in 15, 30, and 60-minute increments. And the top prices is for the track plus a car and controller. And then the bottom is if you have your own equipment. So if you notice, there's no rental cars on the King track. The only tracks that get rental cars is the yellow, black, and the orange. If you have your own cars, you can rent time on any of the tracks. So, we're really used to going to all the raceways and doing the $10 all day kind of pit pass thing. And, Buzzy's a little different. So me and Eric ran 15 minutes on each track. So I guess we spent $650, 1050, and
$15.
$12, I guess. Is that right? Yeah, $15, $15.50. Yeah, I forgot I was So anyway, if you notice on the orange and the blue, you can either have regular power, which was transformer power, or you could have battery power. So, all right, I got to stop for a second because my doorbell was ringing. I don't know if they've been working on the building.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was wondering what was going on. I'm like, all right.
All right. That's what it was here to fix the air conditioner next door upstairs.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so where is the start button at? Oh, resume. Okay. So we were talking about the battery power. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. So we ran on the orange track on the transformer, and then we ran on the battery, and we ran battery power on the King track. So the King track. Okay, so I guess before I go into this, I don't remember what I was going to say. I guess that's all I was going to say about this. But anyway, so we ran, because when we were on the orange track, it was like, we put our cars on them. It's like really slow because we were probably on like 10 volts. And another unique part of the orange was that Buzzy removed the S's on the orange track. So when me and Eric was running, you haven't run an orange track. Have you ever ran an orange track with S's?
No.
Okay, so and me and Eric both have run so many laps on orange tracks that when you come up the down on top of the bridge, by halfway across the bridge, you've got to let off to get into the first S. Okay, so, and I think I told Eric on the drive there, I'm like, well, no, I didn't tell him that because I didn't realize the track didn't have S's in it. I thought the track had S's in it. So anyway, we're out there, and the first lap we both make, we like let up way early, because we're used to letting up on top of the bridge to make that first S, but there's no S's there, so you can drive it. Almost another 8 feet before you gotta let up and come around the top turn. So it took us a while, both of us, to get that out of our system. So, and then I think Eric said something to Buzz about, like, can you turn the power up? And he goes, what do you want, battery power? And it was like, well, we're almost out of time. We won't worry about it. So we ran on the orange, and then we went and ran on I think, we went and ran on the King track. So we said we want to run battery power on the King track. And all the tracks were a little dusty, no matter what
Right.
we were on. So it took us, a few laps of running, cleaning our tires, and rolling some glue in them, and making a few more laps and cleaning our tires. And the tracks were super smooth. And I'll get more into that here in a little bit. But once we got hooked up, it was a lot of fun. And so when you're at the counter at Buzzy's, it's just like you can look at all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's just, my head was going all over the place, like, what's he got? And Eric found some stuff that was fairly old new stock, nothing collectible type stuff, but stuff that you don't see. And Buzzy, I told Buzzy, I said, you're probably the only raceway in America that has inventory of Palmer starter sets. I mean, he probably had 20 starter sets to the right of this old Aurora AFX car display. And the reason I took a picture of that is that's a highly collectible item. Again, this is part of stepping back
Right.
in time. And I remember going to like J.C. Penney's when I was probably 10 or 11 years old, and they had a toy department, and they would have that display, and there was another, maybe it was probably a Tyco display, and I can remember going there and looking at the cars. Again, I never got into HO, but I did like looking at the cars because I thought they were really
Right.
cool, because they were highly detailed and stuff. And so Buzzy has this old FX Aurora display case there, and before any of you collectors start hounding Buzzy, I don't know if anything's for sale or anything. So, and you can call him, and all he can tell you no, but I don't think he's looking to get rid of anything. So, and then under that was a sign for road tests for new members held on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And I don't really know what the road test was, but on one of the videos on YouTube, for Buzzarama, Buzzy shows these old Buzzarama driver's license. Okay, so I'm like, put that on my list. So I asked Buzzy, I said, well, while we're here, we want to get our Buzzarama driver's license. And he's like, okay. He says, well, the test is 10 laps on black lane on the yellow. You got to do 10 laps in 1 minute without falling off. If you fall off, you fail, and there's no retests on the same day you fail. So we're like, yeah, we still want to do it.
Right. Yeah.
So he couldn't find his registration form, so he kind of made up these things, and we filled in our names and address and stuff, and we took our driver's test, and we both passed. And there's a short 2.5 minute second video from our visit to Buzzy's on the YouTube channel Slot Racer, and you can watch me and Eric take our driving tests. And so then when we got done, Buzzy says, well, he says, look in your mailbox in 7 to 10 days, and you'll have your driver's license, or whenever I get around to it. I'm like, Buzz, is it 7 to 10 days, or is it going to be whenever?
Right.
So here it is Wednesday, and I haven't seen my driver's license yet, and I'm not worried about when they get here, but I do have proof that we passed, so that's all that matters. Even if we don't get the driver's license,
Right.
me and Eric both know that we passed, and we got the video from it, and it was just, and and I'll tell you what's really, I don't know, it's not funny, but maybe
hang that up at the top of your box.
No, Buzzy has those, but
has those?
Yeah, but
Gotcha.
but Buzzy, what's ironic, okay, is I started racing on a Windsor. And at our raceway, we did have like these driver's license, and I still have my old driver's license somewhere from there. And, here I am, oh, wow, 37 years later, taking my driver's test to get a driver's license on the same track that I learned how to slot car race
Right.
37 years later. So I guess when I get that driver's license, I'll probably just frame them together or something, just hang them on the wall. But yeah, it was really cool that the driver's test thing. So then of course there was the showcases, and again, like, when's the last time you seen a Parma ready to run car at a raceway? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that Buzzy doesn't sell anything. Buzzy probably just has a lot of inventory.
Right.
So but I mean, he had, like, he's got Cofer wing cars, ready to run wing cars for sale. He's got the flexi cars. He had a bunch of old Yeti chassis. And Eric bought 2 of the old GL 420s because he used to run them in box stock 12 or 15 many years ago. So he bought a couple of those. And
Right.
so, and of course, Buzzy's got a stack of stuff here on the counter. And
Yeah, that's slot car racing right there.
yeah, right. I mean,
Yeah.
right. It's not totally organized, but it's not out of control either. So you just got to use your eyes and look around.
It's kind of like going to Rogers. You
Right.
just kind of got to look.
Right. If you're a Womp racer, Buzzy's got Womp racers in stock. You know what I mean? Like, or Womp chassis.
Right.
And, so yeah, he had a lot of stuff. If you're looking for Parma crown gears, he's got them. And he just had lots of stuff that is hard to get nowadays. So, and then he had tires, and
He's even got the Parma starter set tires.
yeah. So okay, if you look up in the right hand corner, you see these controller handles, and this one here where I've got the cursor, that is an old gold sparkle Parma handle, and for years Parma used the gold sparkle handles on their economy controllers and economy controller line. And then they had red sparkle and green sparkle and blue sparkle, and Parma had like the economy line, and they had the pro controller, and there was a couple other lines in there, and they used different color handles, sparkle handles, on those series of controllers. And Eric wanted the gold. He's like, wow, because that was bolted to like a different color handle. And what Buzzy does on his rental controllers is he'll take 2 different colors handles and bolt them on the rental controllers. So if someone swipes one and brings it back later, he knows, like, that's my rental controller that got swiped, because he puts 2 different color handles on them. So, and then he engraves them inside, and he does some other stuff, he said. So Eric's like, do you have the other half to this handle? And I don't remember exactly what Buzzy said. But anyway, before I knew it, there was a pair of gold handles, and Eric was buying them. So, again, the kid got his candy in the candy store. And
is he going to put it on his controller, or is
he's going to put it on his controller. He's going to put it on his DeFalco.
Gotcha.
And I told him, I said, the only thing that Parma never made was like a silver sparkle controller. If they had a silver sparkle handle, I would definitely probably have that on my controller, but they never made one. So, and there's a difference between being molded and being painted. I mean, molded is just totally different than. So this was kind of Buzzy's little museum showcase. Okay, so a lot of old stuff. None of this stuff would be for sale. Okay, so it's just old stuff that is his stuff. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
Just got it out there. So, there was a brand new Sidex controller in there. And the other cool thing that was in there was he had 2 original Dave Bloom painted bodies from back in the day. Now, to you, this would be a retro Can-Am body, but back in the 60s and early 70s, before air control and stuff, like this is a dynamic Porsche 908 that Dave Bloom painted for Buzzy, Uncle Buzzy, Team Buzzarama. And back in the day, I mean, most all the pros ran Dave Bloom painted bodies. And, he would put whoever else's name on the door and whatever team you were up on the front. And, so that's another angle of the body. But, I mean, the bodies were beautiful. I mean, they were just like
I
brand
was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, they were, I mean, these would bring some serious bucks from a serious collector. Um, and it'd be neat to someday maybe see these out at the slot car museum in Los Angeles, but yeah, we'll see. But and then there was the Bloom Waters McLaren that was made by Champion, and same deal. It was painted by Dave Bloom, same colors, same scheme, just two different body styles. And Dave painted them and gave them to Buzzy back in the day. And like Buzzarama was the hot spot for pro racing, like mainly in the 70s. I don't know that Buzzy ever hosted any like car model races in the 60s, but in the mid 70s they did a lot of wing car racing, and Team Cayman and Team Trinity, they would race there on a weekly basis. And as it got closer to hosting the Nats in '79, more and more pros would go there to race monthly or weekly or whatever to get tuned up for the upcoming Nats. And, a lot of names, Ernie Prevetti raced there. I mean, Trinity started in Brooklyn, New York. Okay, so, Ernie Prevetti raced there. Tony P. Buzzy spoke very high of Tony P. Said Tony P. was a total gentleman. He would bring chassis down, put them in the showcase. Buzz would get a cut on them. And he just, he had nothing bad to say about Tony P. Or he really didn't say anything bad about anybody. But I brought up what happened was he brought up Sandy Gross, and Sandy Gross and Howie Ersner were the Gold Dust twins back in the day, and they came from Brooklyn or the New York City area, and they raced at Buzzy's all the time. And Buzzy brought up Sandy Gross and the fact that Sandy Gross did very well after slot cars by starting Polk Audio, which was a speaker company, high-end audio speaker company, and he sold that, and he started another company, and he sold that. And I think Sandy might be on his like fourth speaker company right now or something, or audio company. And Sandy Gross has done very well. I mean, we're talking millionaire status, and he's done very well. And I said, well, Ernie Prevetti, I mean, there's a guy that started out on his mom's kitchen table in Brooklyn and went, great things in the RC, and another millionaire. I mean, so, and then he brought up Tony P being a gentleman and everything, and so, Andy Wasserman, there's a guy who used to race at Buzzarama, and I mean, God, I could just, Al Pollock, which doesn't really race that much anymore, but a lot of the guys that currently run in Retro East, a lot of them has raced at Buzzarama. So in Buzzy's little museum there, showcase, he had a little organizer full of the American Raceway pins. And back in the day, you would get a time, what they called a time logging book. Raceway would give it to you. And every time you rented time, they would put in there how much time you rented and initial it or mark it somehow. And then when you got to 25 hours, they would award you a 25-hour pin. And then when you got to 58 hours, there was a 50 pin, and there was a 100 pin. And the two rarest pins is the 250 and the 500, because you would have to get 250 hours and 500 hours. And these show up on eBay from time to time. And currently, and when I say they show up, I mean usually they're 25, 50s, or 100s. Like I said, 250s and 500s are kind of rare. And currently on eBay, as of the taping of the show, because somehow they showed up in my email today, there's two pins up there. I can't tell you what hours they are. They're not 250 or 500, but one's like at $25 and the other one's at $95. Now, are they worth that much? Not to me, but I mean,
to a collector.
To a collector. So And I don't, again, if you're not into slot racing, these really aren't valuable. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah. I
outside
mean,
the slot racing world, this stuff really isn't valuable. So, and again, I don't even know what kind of value you would put on these pins, but they're not easy to find. Like I said, every now and then they'll show up on eBay, and Buzzy has several of these, not for sale. He didn't give them to me. Um, I actually have a 25, 50, and 100. And years ago when we had the first Challenge Cup race, first Challenge Cup Nats at Tom Thumb in Columbus, Ohio, Mr. McMaster's, Mike's dad, um, he came up to me and he says, "I got something for you." And I said, "Okay." And he says, "Well, hold your hand out." And so I hold my hand out, and he drops, he drops something in my hand. And I open my hand and I look, and I'm like, "Wow." He goes, "Those are for you. Those aren't for Ken. Those are for you."
right.
And I said, "Wow, thanks." And I still have them. I cherish them. I'll never get rid of them because, Mr. McMaster's giving those to me was very special.
Right.
He gave them to me. I never, I never knew he had any left, and I never knew they had them back in the day. But it was just something very special to me, and very special that he gave them to me. So someday maybe I'll find a 250 and 500. I'm not all that worried about having the whole collection. Just
Right.
So, and then the other pins that American had was okay. So American, if you could buy from American for your raceway, you could buy ribbons. First through eighth, and they would imprint your raceway name on them and stuff, and you could award them out at races. Then they had pins, and they had the first, second, and third place pins. And I had never seen those in person. I have a copy of the American flyer sheet that they sent raceways to buy these pins and ribbons. But I never seen the pins, and this is the first time I'd seen the pins. And, again, I don't have any. Maybe someday I'll pick them up or something somewhere. But I had never seen. Well, we'll go to this. So there's kind of a close up of a first place pin, and then I'd never seen the pin before with the crown on it. And I was like, "What's the crown for, Buzz?" And he's like, "I don't know. I don't remember." And so I came back and I looked through my American literature, and that was a concourse pin. So if you won concourse,
That's cool.
the crown was for winning concourse. Not King of the King track or anything like that, but
Right.
that was a concourse pin. So first place concourse pin. So, and there was no other place pins for concourse. So, the Emperor 220 track. So in the interview, you'll find out more about this, and I'm not going to give away all the details in this. I don't think I'm going to try to. So American came out with this track called the Emperor 220, and 220 feet was a scale mile for a 124th car. American made two 220 tracks, the Purple Mile or the Sovereign, and then the Emperor, which Buzzy got the first Emperor that was made. And you'll find out more about that in the interview with Buzzy. And the Emperor track is very rare because there was only 3 made. And Buzzy got the first one. And Buzzy told me, because Buzzy said, "I got the first one." I said, "Well, American only made 3. And he says, "Yes." And I said, "I know that the third, or one of the other 2 wound up in Colorado at a raceway we talked about in the American Between the Lanes episodes." And I said, "But the question mark is where the missing one went to." And I said, "Rumor has it that it was at Aurora." Or no. So anyway, he says, "Well, yeah, the second one was not too far from here." And I said, "Was it Aurora and Hempstead?" And he says, "Yes, they had an Emperor too." And a little background on that was that me and Peter Lentros, who owns Modelville, we had talked about this. And he said that he had been told, or he had heard, that Aurora did have an Emperor track, but it was supposedly was in the basement, and only the engineers from one of the nearby companies, big like defense companies, that was their like kind of club track. So employees of that company could play on it, and only friends of theirs, or if they allowed you to run laps on it, you could. Again, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is just what I've been told. So Buzzy was the one that finally confirmed that yes, Aurora had one of the 3 Emperors made. So Buzzy still has the one and only existing Emperor in his basement. And he also has an American Blue King in the basement, another American Blue King in the basement. So, people talk about the Holy Grail of this, Holy Grail of that. I mean, like, to me, this is almost like the Holy Grail of slot racing. He's got the only one left. And yeah, it's probably more of the Holy Grail of American raceway tracks. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
this was a copy of what American mailed to prospective raceway owners of their tracks, and this was like an artist rendition. And all the other tracks went out with actual color photo of the track itself. But American took all those photos of those tracks inside their Tom Thumb Raceway out in Panorama City, California. Well, they never set an Emperor up in that building, and they never set a Purple Mile up because they didn't have room in that building for those 2 tracks. So if you ever see a color American flyer sheet for the Sovereign, the Purple Mile, that photo was taken at Playland, because Playland got the first Purple Mile, and then that's the Purple Mile Sovereign that is now at Modelville in Ashland, Massachusetts. So the first Sovereign is set up, and then it's running, at Modelville, and the first Emperor is sitting in Buzz's basement. So there you have it. And we still don't know how many tracks American made. So now this is a partial photo of Buzz's Emperor. And in the interview, basically Buzz put the Emperor in when he opened in '65. He got his Windsor Blue King and black. They were all delivered at the same time, and the Emperor came a little later. And there's some more details about the Emperor once he got it that's in the interview. So the Emperor comes a little later. They set it up, and we'll have to flip back between pictures, because in this picture, notice how the crossovers are. So like the inside, okay, so the Emperor track ran opposite of a King track. It ran from right to left. So we're going to go back here. So like this was the starting line here, and the cars went up through the big bank, down the straightaway, and there was a crossover. So the outside cars went to the inside, okay, into this big bank, and the inside cars went to the outside of the big bank. They came to the bank, came down out of the bank, into the kink, we'll call it, into the 180, and then they came back in these crossovers. So in the artist's rendition, the cars on the outside in the 180 became outside lane cars going through this 180 down to the finish line. You following me?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the actual track, the cars that were on the outside in the 180 became outside cars over here. So like the crossovers are backwards from the artist rendition. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
they're reversed or upside down. So again, this is a picture inside Buzzy's back in the day. You got one of the famous Buzzy's bunnies who they would hire local models and put them in the bunny costumes on Friday nights after 10 p.m. And they would marshal the cars when they came off the track. There's another photo of the bunny, putting a car in, and it worked. It did good for business. Brought lots of guys in. so
Yeah, because they're all standing in the high bank in that picture, and you got guys racing and standing there.
yep. And I think in one of these photos, we got a guy kind of, I don't know where the photo, I thought it was this photo. Maybe it's off here, we can't see it, but there's a guy kind of watching the bunny bent over. So, so, or maybe it's this guy here. He's checking her out. See, he's kind of looking in her direction. So then Buzzy then, because he said, he says the crossovers were a big problem. The cars piled up underneath them, blah, 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 big marshalling problem. So Buzzy took the crossovers out, sectioned out, and he made sections to replace the crossovers. So over here, he put in what he calls the Z's, because I said, well, you put S's in? He goes, no, I put Z's in. So you put Z's in here, and then on the back straightaway, of course, it was just a straight section. So there was a crossover somewhere in here. He had a crossover somewhere here. So he put a straight section in, and over here he put the Z's in. And this track was up until 1979 after the USRA Nats Labor Day weekend. They removed the Emperor. It went to the basement. And then that area became the party room and where the orange track sits today. Before I talk about this, another tidbit. So, 1990, he hired Hossie Nielsen to come in and redo all the tracks, the king, the orange, the black, and the yellow. And they removed, I think that's when they removed the S's from the orange. Hossie put all new tops on these tracks in 1990. And to this day, these are, other than the hill climb at Modelville, these are the smoothest American tracks I've ever run on. And it's hard to believe that, Hossie did them in 1990, so that's, 29 years ago, that the tracks are still in that condition. They're unbelievably smooth. The King track, we were running our GTP cars from the Flexipalooza on it. And the first time I squeezed the trigger, I'm like, this track is wired right. I mean, it just was. And the cars went down the straightaway so fast and through the bank, and there was no clickety-clack. The track was, and like I said, it took us a few laps of running, cleaning,
Right.
running, clean. And I never really got fully hooked up. And Buzzy has no lap timer as far as to time your lap.
Like we have, yeah, right.
Right. But me and Eric both agreed that that has to be the fastest American King in the country by far, because it is so smooth and the power is so good on it. So we'll never know, because the track would need to be clean and sprayed, and you'd have to have a timer to really, but the track would rock it. Unbelievable. So a little bit about Buzz. Okay, so best I can guess, just going by some numbers, I asked his age and they wouldn't tell me, but Buzz is like 88 years old. And this was a picture of Buzz running the New York Marathon in 1996 at age 65. Okay. What's funny about, I don't know if this is funny, but what's funny and factual about this, my neighbor next door at the jewelry store, when I told him I was going to go to Buzzarama last weekend, he says, yeah, last time I was in New York City was in 1996. I ran the marathon.
Right.
And I said, okay. And he goes, yeah, we ran through all 5 bureaus and blah, 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 blah. Okay. So we get there, and Buzz's wife, Dolores, shows me this photo. She goes, here, this is Buzzy running the marathon in 1996. This is a 26-mile marathon, and Buzzy ran it in 3 hours and 45 minutes. So I'm like, I'm going to take a picture to show my neighbor. And so I go over there and I show it to him on yesterday. I said, hey, I said, the guy I went and seen, he ran the marathon 1996. He goes, that's the same year I ran the marathon. Okay. So I said, well, here's a picture and here's his time. And he goes, wow, he goes, that's a super good time. He says, because it took me 3 hours and 30 minutes to run the marathon, which Buzzy was 15 minutes behind my neighbor who was 30 years old at the time. And Buzz is
Right.
66 here, okay?
Right.
Or 65.
Right.
So he's so my neighbor says, well, I'll just look his number up here. I'll tell you where he finished. Okay, so there was, and I don't know if Buzz knows this or not, but so in the 1996 marathon, there was 28,881 runners. Buzzy finished 6,157th. So Buzzy finished in the top quarter of the 28,000 people who ran the marathon.
Right.
Now,
At double their age, probably.
yeah, my neighbor finished 3,539th. So in a 15-minute span,
Right.
2,618 other runners finished between my neighbor and Buzzy, okay?
Right.
So in Buzz's age group, which was, I think, 60 through 70, or I don't remember. I didn't write it down. Buzz finished 54th out of 658 people in his age group.
Right.
At 65.
Yeah. Yeah, you won't find me doing anything like that at 65.
So I was like, my neighbor tells me, I'm just like, oh, more respect for Buzz. Buzz is in great shape. For a guy that's 88, he gets around good. He's really sharp. He's sharp as a tack.
Right.
You're not going to pull much over on Buzz. His wife Dolores helps him at the raceway. She is a licensed nutritionist, and that's part of why Buzz is in such good shape. Buzz has 20/15 vision at 88 years of age. Never wears glasses. Doesn't need glasses. Doesn't need magnifiers.
Right.
Claims it's because there's this book out there that's kind of been outlawed in some places, but it's a book about doing eye exercises, and Buzz reads and does his eye exercises with this book he had for years, and
Right.
therefore he doesn't need glasses. So Buzz has run several marathons. They don't run the full marathons anymore. They kind of go somewhere close to their house to the marathon course, and they kind of just blend in and kind of walk or maybe kind of trot along for a while and then
Right.
get some exercise or whatever. But I don't know when the last year was he ran a full marathon. But where the rental controllers hang, he has probably 20 marathon or running medals hung up there, with the ribbons and the. I
Right.
should take a picture of them, but I didn't. So there you have it. So, and then before we left, Eric took a picture with Buzz and his wife Dolores, and then I took a picture with them. And it was a great honor to meet both of them and talk with them. We were there like 5 hours. We only ran on the tracks other than walk around taking pictures and
Right.
run on the tracks for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. The rest of the time was spent talking to Buzzy and Dolores. And, they welcomed us, treated us like family while we were there. She went over and got some soup at a Polish restaurant store. And, she says, you guys want some soup? And I'm like, what kind of soup? I'm going to this Polish place. I'm thinking, ugh, I don't know what kind of soup they'll have. I said, well, just get me a little cup. That way, if I don't like it.
Right.
So she came back and she had a cup of chicken noodle for me and Eric each, and then her and Buzz had barley soup, and And said, well, I said, the barley sounds better than chicken noodle, but he goes, I don't know if you'd like it or not. I said,
Right.
but the soup was really good. So it was nice that she walked over and got us some soup and stuff. And then, so that was that. So then I'm going to flip this. So we have a giveaway yet on the show yet, and we're going to give away some cow RC stuff. I think it was medium-sized pit mat is what Justin said, and then some moose stick and some moo clean. And we'll draw for that here in a few minutes. And I got my drawing bucket's down there. So that's all I got.
It's been a while since you grabbed the bucket.
Yeah, it has. So going to go back to the regular screen. So I was going to say something. Oh, so while you're in Brooklyn and you're at Buzzy's, you're not that far from Coney Island. So I told Eric when we were going, I said, when we get down Buzzy's, we're going to go down to Nathan's.
Right.
Hot dogs, where they have the hot dog eating contest every July 4th. I said, we got to go down there and try a hot dog. I mean,
yeah,
we're that close. So we left Buzzy's and we went down to Nathan's. It's, I think, 5 or 7 miles from Buzzy's. Takes you about a half hour to get there, going down the Ocean Parkway or whatever. And speed limit in New York City is 25 miles unless it's posted differently. And I think all the boroughs are that way. Whether you're in Brooklyn, Queens. I don't know about Staten Island because when we went through Staten Island, we were pretty much on the interstate. So, but as far as all the surface streets we've seen, the speed limit was 25. So anyway, we went down to Nathan's. When we got down to Nathan's, it was about I'm thinking it was around 7 o'clock when we got down there, and it was 62 degrees, and the wind was blowing like probably 35 mile an hour. Got out, and it was a little bit chilly, like I just had a shirt on and some shorts, and so did Eric.
Yeah.
So anyway, so when I told Eric we want, we got to go to Nathan's, he's like, well, we also got to get some New York pie.
Right.
Okay, you know what New York pie is, right?
Yeah. I've been to enough races and raced with enough. Yeah.
New York pie is pizza. Well,
right. Yeah.
So
I learned that when I went to the New Jersey Nats. Everyone was like, pie.
So a sidebar of that was I go to Zeppelin. The first time I go to Zeppelin, Hobbies in New Jersey, it's like midnight. So I asked Lou Bellini, I'm like, where's someplace close to go get something to eat?
Right.
He says, well, you can go down to Larry's and you can get some really good pies. And I'm thinking, pies? And I'm thinking, strawberry, coconut cream, like apple.
Yeah, pie, yeah.
and he goes, you can go over here. And then it dawned on me, pies, pizza. So
I think Mark called it pie when we were up there for the Palooza, because before I realized he had his stand set up, I was like, y'all got a place that delivers pizza? And he's like, yeah, there's a pretty good pie place down. And I'm like, all right, I didn't realize that carried over into Ohio.
It's also soda. It's not pop. And, there's some other. So anyway, so Eric said, well, I'm going to get some, real New York pie while we're there. I said, okay. So we get down to Coney Island in Nathan's there, and we find a parking place. I guess Nathan's faces the north. So we parked on the west side and by the roller coaster there, Coney Island, and the Ferris wheel I think was over here, and Coney Island was kind of swinging, happening. Nathan's was definitely real busy, and went in and when we was walking from the car on the west side of the building, there's a couple of smaller, kind of walk up type little restaurants. There are no seating right there, but you walk up.
Right. Yeah.
So
you see that on the street or whatnot.
Yeah. So the one place, the first one, it had some big old pies sitting in their little showcase. So I said, "Where's your pie?" So we go to Nathan's, and I go up and I order a hot dog and their French fries. And Eric goes, "Well, aren't you going to get 2 hot dogs?" And I said, "Well, not if I'm going to have pie too."
Right. Yeah.
So he orders one hot dog and he orders fries with cheese and bacon or something on it, and I just got my fries plain. And then we went over and sat down and ate in the cool breeze. And after about 5 minutes, we was eating as fast as we could because we're like.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember you were telling me you were cold.
So he gets about done eating. He goes, he said, I don't know if I got room for pie. I said, well, I got room for a slice. So we walked over and we both got a slice. So they took it out and they threw it in the old brick pizza oven.
Right. Yeah.
Heated it up, and man, it was delicious. It was great.
There's places like that around here that still do the brick oven pizza that are. They're building a Parker's gas station, and it used to be an old. Yeah, that's the name of the gas. I don't know if y'all have them up there or not.
No,
They're called Parker's. And over in the corner, it was around lunchtime, and I was thinking, man, there's like a Chinese place. I was just like, huh. And there was like an old like Italian sub pizza or whatnot. I walked in there, and that's how it was. And the guys, I talked to the guy because, of course, it took like 20 minutes to make the pizza or whatnot because it was all fresh. And he was telling me, he was from New York and whatnot and stuff. And I was like, all right, cool. So it's kind of the same deal.
Right.
I think I took a picture of it and sent it to Bobby because Bobby likes pizza too. And he was just like, oh, man. I'm like, dude, this is all. I'm like, yeah, I'm in South Carolina, but these guys are like real deal.
Right.
From New York, kind of brought it down here type thing.
So I took a copy of the Emperor, and then I had Buzz sign it for me.
There you go.
Had him sign a copy of this. So that's the only one.
Put it in the museum.
Yeah, frame it up, hang it on the wall. He gave us a couple Rama stickers, and we got some business.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he gives me a sticker. He goes, I expect to see this on the outside of your box. And I said, Buzz, I got like this really nice box, and I don't put stickers.
Yeah.
I don't put stickers on the outside. I said, but I will put the sticker on the outside for you. So I haven't done it yet.
That's like me. I mean, I got these boxes from Mark, and whenever I got them, I was like, I'm not putting anything on the outside. I think I got 2 stickers on the outside. When you flip it over, it says Port City down the side.
Yeah, I got a few things in my lid, but
yeah, and then in my lid, I got all the participation plaques. And then but
right. So I'm gonna probably put his sticker on the front of my box.
There you go.
Because it was very awesome to meet him and visit with him and talk and do the interview. And because when we walked in the door, he was kind of like, I think he's thinking, who the hell are these guys,
Right.
So he's like, I thought you weren't coming till tomorrow. And like, well, we're here.
Yeah, giving you the old grouchy man syndrome.
Yeah. So anyway, most people probably think we were nuts. We got up at 6 a.m. Or no, we left Ohio at 6 a.m. and we arrived at Buzzy's, drove straight through. The only thing we stopped for was a couple of pee stops.
Right.
We left at 6. We got to Buzzy's at 5 till 2.
It's not bad.
No. Then we left Coney Island right about 8 o'clock, and we got back to Eric's house at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, that would have been a rough one.
We drove straight through. Eric drove both ways.
Oh, he was probably on cloud 9. So
He said,
yeah. He could have drove to California and say, we're good.
He was like more juiced up after we left, like.
Oh yeah.
So I catnapped a little bit going, I nodded off for half hour, maybe an hour tops, maybe.
Yeah.
And coming back, I was awake the whole time.
It's like me normally. If Bobby drives, I normally the last hour of the trip to his house. If I'm going home, I tell him I'm going to take a nap because I know we're about an hour out. When we get to his house, I'm loading my truck up. Then I got 3.5 hours to my house.
So then we're coming back. I think I'm pretty sure we were in New Jersey. Yeah, we were in New Jersey. And there was some guy with like a new Dodge Challenger. And we're cruising along, I don't know, 70, 75 or something. He comes in the left lane and kind of, it was, I don't know if he had a Hemi in it or, V8 or what, but, and it's like, oh, that's cute. And so he's kind of, the guy's kind of like speeding up and taking off, and then he would let up. And pretty soon a state trooper pulls up on the back. Here it goes. Oh, here we go. So anyway, I've got like I'm like video is on because I'm
Right? You're
waiting
just
for this
waiting.
guy to light him up. Like this is
Right.
gonna be fun. So the state trooper follows him, and I don't think the guy realized the state trooper him because every now and then he would throttle up to 90 mph.
Right.
And it's like, is he gonna get him? Is he gonna
Yeah.
get him? Well, he never got him. This trooper probably followed him for 10 miles, and then he finally got off on an exit. The trooper did.
Right.
So we're kind of following this guy for a long time, and some little souped-up Subaru comes along. It's up with him, and now they're kind of drag racing.
Right.
So at some point, Eric decided we were going to join in, and because he wanted to see if his turbocharged Kia would hang with him.
Turbocharged Kia.
So we hit 114 before I went back into cruise mode. So.
Yeah.
But he was like, the little Kia can hang with him.
I juiced him up even more.
So
In my truck, there's a setting that I put that if I reach a certain speed, it kind of dings at me and says, hey, let's back it down. Let's get out of race mode.
right.
Bobby was riding with me one time, and we were headed to Randy's, and I was on 485, mostly open interstate, and I just got in this group of cars that no one wanted to move, no one wanted to go anywhere, and I'm just like, I can't drive like this. I don't know if it's just truck driver in me. I don't like people being constantly around me. It's like, just go.
Right.
And he's over there. I think he was like half out of it. Next thing you know, all he hears is ding, 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 ding. He's like, what's going on? I was like, I couldn't take it anymore. He's like, you racing somewhere or what? And I'm like, I had to get away. And he's like, well, how fast are you going? I was like, that's set for 98. He's like, yeah, let's back her down. Let's back her down. It's like, sorry. It's like, that's probably the only time I ever do that with you in the vehicle.
Yep.
Because I always told him I don't do stupid stuff with people.
Well, does your truck have the rev limiter on it?
Yeah, but I've had 3 brand new Chevrolets, and this is the only one that I haven't hit the rev limiter on yet.
Okay, so how fast have you went in it?
I've got it up to 125, and it started floating. So I was just like, yeah, I'm
okay.
Plenty fine. Yeah.
See, because like Terry's rev limiter and his
98.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see the Silverado I had before
We've hit
this
that
one?
a few times.
Yeah. Yeah, because you kind of feel it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just like, all right. This one, I don't even know why I did it. It's just, I don't know, stupid. I'll say it. Middle of the night by myself, and I was just like, let's see,
Yeah,
I did a couple of things to it, but I've never changed anything as far as that goes.
right.
98, and it's still jumping. It's like, all right, maybe it's 105. It's still going.
Right.
110, and you kind of, you've seen my truck. Not full size, but it's no little truck.
Right.
And I start getting the shimmy, and I'm like, oh, yeah. And I'm thinking it's about 115. It's like, all right. And then you start hearing the air, and I got a bug flap on the front of my truck. It's sitting there waving at me, and I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, 120. I seen it hit 123, and I was like, I'm good. I let off.
The only concern coming back, because like when we left, we were in daylight. Like I said, we left.
Yeah.
So the only concern coming back for me is deers.
Yeah.
Because when you go through Pennsylvania on the interstates, you see dead deers everywhere. Right. Or so that's really my only ever concern about going through there at night, but. And you can get them during the daytime too, but sometimes you don't see them coming. But
I used to be one that would go to a race, get done, pack up, same night, or same day, race or whatnot.
Right.
Come back. Now anymore, I just stay at Bobby's and just get up the next day fresh.
All right, so we're going to give away the Cal RC stuff. The lucky winner is going to be Sam Cook.
Name sounds familiar.
Sam Cook, you are the winner of the Mad Cal RC. I want to, like I was say Mad Cal RC.
Mad cow disease.
Yeah, Pit Mat Moo Clean and Moo Slick, I think is what it was. Sounds right.
I think so.
And all right, so if anyone is interested in going to Buzzarama, I know that years ago there was always this thing about it was in a bad neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York.
Right.
Um, didn't see anything bad. Didn't see anything scary.
Yeah, 'cause then y'all were there.
Yeah, the neighborhood's pretty ethnic. Buzzy's kind of just okay. So this is an interview. This is an interview too. But Buzz will close on, I think, July 15th. Won't open till after Labor Day weekend. And he's only open on Saturday and Sundays from 2 to 7, I think it is. But Buzzarama has a website and phone numbers, and I would suggest anybody before you go there, you call. And
Right.
I would recommend anybody to go there if you have the ways and means, and go check the place out. And
Yeah, 'cause I know, like, me and Bobby have talked about. I know Bobby wants to go and race on the Purple Mile.
right. Well, I think
So,
that's the next trip with Eric. We're going to be going.
right.
He wants this. He wants to see the Purple Mile.
So,
So yeah. So anyway, there you have it. Yeah, if you get to Buzzarama. Oh, another thing too, that uh, because they have a very strict no profanity rule in the raceway. Okay, so they were telling about the time. She says, "What have you ever watched the show The Americans?" There's a
are you
TV.
asking me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, she asked me, "Do you know the show The Americans?" I'm like, "I've heard of it, but I've never watched
yeah,
it, never seen it." I think it's an FX series, or was. I don't even know if it's still a current series.
right.
Well,
Probably YouTube it.
okay, I'm getting to that. So she came. She came to. Um, so she says, "Well, if you see season 6, episode 6, they filmed here in the raceway." And she said, uh, um, she says, they're like, she goes, the guy's over there and he's like cussing up a storm. And I'm like, no, you can't, no profanity in here. And he's like, well, that's my script. I'm so, like, I'm sorry, but that's my script.
Right.
So I don't know if they worked that out or whatever, but he says, yeah, they were here for 3 days. The first day they came in and set everything up. And then the second day they filmed. And then the third day they came and tore everything down and removed everything. So I'm going to see, hold on, give me a second here, because I'm going to see if I can find this for you.
I was gonna say we would all be kicked out of there if they have a strict no profanity.
Possibly. So let me see, because I did find. So I went over to YouTube. You can buy the episode for $1.99. And I was, you know what? This is the picture I was looking for earlier to put up. Now let's see if I can find it. Because I took a screenshot from the I think where this is. To be up here. Dun, dun, dun. No, that's not it. Well, I can't find it. Oh, there it is. Hold on. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. So I went to YouTube and I did a search. The Americans, season 6, episode 6. So I found like a trailer for that.
Right.
It's like a minute or a minute 30 long. And so I snagged this from that. So that's the picture. So you can see the guy on the left there's got a controller in his hand. And then you can see the checkered flag behind him on the wall. and this guy in the middle, he's the father talking to his son about something. It was just a real quick snippet. And I believe they're sitting at the King track. The panel kind of looks blue.
Yeah.
If it was the black, they would have had to remove the steering wheels and seats, and the thing about when you're at the King track, they have the little folding chairs there to sit if you want to sit while you're running your car. So the Americans, season 6, episode 6. There's some scenes in that show that were shot inside Buzzarama. And so again, if you want to go there, you need to go there. Buzz is a great guy. I think we got lucky because they weren't very busy with
Right.
people coming in, so we got a lot of alone time with Buzz and
Right.
Dolores. And another name that came up was Reggie Corum. Has a raceway down in St. Martin.
Right.
Reggie grew up at Buzzarama. Like his mom used to drop him off there, and
That's cool.
he learned to run slot cars and race, and Reggie went on to become a national world champion. And so like I was going to say, but yeah, it's just a really cool place. You got to, if you're into tracks and history, you got to go there. And I think Buzz would love to have you. And so, I know what I was going to say. So while we were there was a group of people that came in and rented time. They ran on the orange and then the black and then the yellow. And there was a guy in the group that asked me if I would take their photo. He handed me a cell phone, and I took a photo of them all sitting there in the stools.
Do you have any idea who you were?
No idea whatsoever. And so anyway, so I took the photo, and then I thought, well, they're running their cars. I'll just take some videos. I was just, using his camera and taking video for them and
Right.
filming their cars. And so then I gave him his stuff back, and then he says, well, what kind of car was that you were running over here before we came over? So let me go get it. So, I like again, GTP car from the Flex. So
right.
I'm showing it to him and explaining it to him. And he goes, well, would you run it? So I ran. They were like, oh, some cars so fast, which it was way faster than the rental cars. But again, we're on like 8 volts or 10 volts or something. So, we had just finished running that car, or I did run that car to get a driver's license. But the yellow lane was a lot dustier, we'll say. It wasn't hooked up like we had got black hooked up by running and cleaning and running and cleaning. And I was going to let him run it, but it was just too. So I don't know. So
yeah.
So anyway, then I'm standing up there talking to Buzzy. He comes up, and this guy was on vacation, but he used to race at a raceway in Connecticut years ago, and he likes slot car racing. Well, it turns out he is the host of an ESPN radio show down in Florida. So he's like, hey, look me up on Facebook. He says, I'd love to have you on the show. So I've hooked up with him on Facebook, and don't know when this will happen, but listeners formed. And I think he wants to talk about the history of slot cars and slot car racing, and probably some of Buzz and the tracks and stuff like that. So
that's cool.
We're going to call this one at the end, but again, it was a great honor to go and meet Buzz. I recommend anyone go to Buzzy's. You're going there in daylight. It's pretty safe. It's kind of an ethnic neighborhood. We had no problems. You park on the street, you got to feed the meter.
That's just the city, so I mean,
you're supposed to park there an hour, but get your ticket. You got to put it on the dashboard. So make sure you go to the Slot Racer channel on YouTube to watch the Buzz interview. And you can watch me and Eric get our driver's license. You're talking a total of like 10 minutes between the two videos. And this week's secret word of the show is going to be Buzz. Or Buzzies, or Buzzy, Buzzies, Buzzarama. Any of those will work.
Right.
Thanks, Buzz. Thanks, Dolores. Thanks for everybody for watching. We will be back next Wednesday. And we'll have a couple other subjects. I think we're going to talk a little bit about some series racing and how some rule changes in some series and stuff like that from there. So until next week, everyone have a safe weekend.
Stay cool.
Stay cool. We're out.